Hey everybody, just figured to try out doing a little voiceover on this and you don't get all the noise, especially the loud sound of all the impact equipment and everything else. So this is a jack that I bought. It's a 1950s. It's got the two arms on it. You can adjust the width. Really good for like rotating tires, stuff like that. You put one piece on each side or get on the side of the car, lift the whole side of the car up at once. Pretty handy. Got it for like $20 on Craigslist. Look how fast I can jack that thing up. You see, me and Barrows went out to the junkyard yesterday and got the new axle. I was sitting there. Had to take it over to the tire shop on the way home because it had some locking lug nuts on there. It'd take a specialty tool. So instead of getting home and trying out my tool that I purchased, we just stopped by and made friends with the cool service guy that was outside, and he took them off for us for free. Pretty cool. So we're going to get over here and take the tires off the truck and get everything out of the way. I didn't even realize till I was putting it back together I only had one center cap. I think I had one on the other side. Don't know what happened to it. But this goes a little faster and fast forward here. I'm using CapCut to do this. I gotta clean this all up. There's a lot of mud everywhere because I use this truck for a lot of off-roading. Do a lot of jobs out in people's fields, go down on the river, stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty dirty. Didn't really want to miss anything, so I figured I'd kind of just record pretty much everything so that you guys didn't really miss any of the steps that I did. And it makes for an interesting video. Gotta watch the fat guy run around and do all this fun stuff. I can't get the other tire off here. I ran my impact about half dead, so I had to run it in and put it on the charger. She didn't want to take the bolts off, or the nuts off the U-bolts there. We cleaned the U-bolts up real good. Got all the mud off around the nuts. Kind of storming here. Okay, so this brake piece, I just cut the hose on it, the one in the junkyard. So I locked my vice grips down on there good and tight, so I can break those fittings loose without stripping them. And I gonna do the same on my truck, just so that we can swap my part out. There's a little breather piece that's supposed to go over the top of that. The center bolt that holds that on is actually like a breather type thing for the rear end. The hole that bolts into actually just goes straight into the rear end. So if you roll the axle over, your gear oil starts coming out on the ground. So we got oh no, battery's low. We got our WD-40 and wire brush out, so we clean all the threads and oil, or not oil them, put rust penetrant on there. A lot of people don't know, but WD-40 is not a lubricant unless you buy their actual lubricant oil stuff. They have a line that's oil, but your actual WD-40 is just to like dissolve rust in that. So you put it on something after it does the job, you should oil it after. A lot of people misconceive that WD-40 is oil, but it's not. PB Blaster, same thing. It's a penetrating catalyst, and they do also have a line of oil. I have some of that myself. Okay. So I had to jack that up a bit there to get the tire off, because my big jack thing isn't quite tall enough. Getting that good and clean. Get all the mud and that out of the way. Man, that's one good looking guy. Yeah, make sure you get the threads good and clean, because any dirt and debris that's inside the threads, you're actually going to fight that when you go to pull it off. Takes a little extra time, but can actually save you time in the long run, because you're not going to fight it. So once I broke these loose with the breaker bar just a little bit, and then put my impact on them, they come right off. Now first, we're going to take the shocks off. That way they don't hold us up. There's just a bolt that goes through the bottom part there. We're leaving these shocks on. So we just undid the bottom bolt on them. There's no need to take them all the way out. Just make sure they're out of the way while you're working. These were actually really tough bolts. And the ones on my new axle were actually better conditioned bolts, and they work better, so I used them instead of the old bolts that were on the truck. Like I say, when you have several or different parts, always use the better parts. Man, thing took forever to screw that bolt out of there. When they catch like that, that's probably like the best way to do it, is just to screw them out. Yeah, on this side, after I got her all broke loose and that. Yeah, see? Really tight. I'm also using this little Icon 14-inch ratchet. I'm actually using it like a 1/2-inch breaker bar. Just the fact that they are lifetime warranted. And they told me, they're like, these are really well built tools. Try to break it, you know. So we're putting forth our best effort to put all the torque we can on this Icon ratchet. Just see what kind of performance it has. Here, oh man, look at that guy move. I'm gonna get the impact back there and turn that on. It'll just zip it right out of there. Can do my own sound effects. Once you get those out of there, boom, pry the shock out of the way. There we go, got our impact charged up. Boom, zip them babies right off. We deleted the emergency brake cable with a grinder. Not gonna sit there and fight them and tear everything apart and try to make them work right now. So for the time being, we're not gonna mess with them. Look at that, man! What a beast! Dragging that axle out of there like it's nothing. Had to kind of get my U-bolts in place, get everything organized. Now it's time to move our other axle over. So, make it a little easier, I left the tires on until I got it where I wanted it. Come on, big boy, carry that thing. Had to move my jack out of the way, move everything around. Decided to take the, oh no, not yet. Say, okay, there we go. Now we're gonna take the tires off and take the shocks off. Get it ready to slide under the truck. Man, look at that guy. He just picks that up like it's nothing. What a big, strong, handsome man there. Boop. And just throw that. Just yank it off. And we'll flip her up and take the shocks off once we get it over there. They made it a little easier. It had like 2 little handles to pick it up with. Now, last night I went and got a pinion seal from O'Reilly's because the pinion was leaking. You can see how much oil's on that right there. So last night, the night before this, I pulled the pinion seal out, put a new one in, put the pinion or the yoke back in. So got everything ready to go for this morning. There we go. I left it in there a little because I was just gonna get my impact and take it off, and then I was like, yeah, we'll just do it with the ratchet. Couldn't fit under there anymore, so we'll just drag it. That was so much fun yanking that under the truck. Just trying to be careful and not mess anything up, but gotta line it up with the little dimples under the springs there. Then we gotta put our lift blocks on. He's got like a probably 3 to 4 inch factory lift on it. Now we're just going to lower the truck down so the springs go onto the blocks. It's easier to lower the truck down to them than to try to jack it up and put everything together in the air. So I just lowered the truck to where I wanted it. Got everything all lined up. It has a little hole on the bottom of the axle, or on the top of the axle there, where the block sits. And it's got a little divot on the block. You just put the little divot in the hole, and then it's the same. There's a little divot on the leaf springs, or a little dimple, and it goes into a little hole in the lift block. Once you get it all lined up, then we just got to get our U-bolts. Put both U-bolts in there, and then on the U-bolts, what you need to do is make sure you tighten them all evenly. Get both in there, and you want to keep them to where all 4 have about the same amount of bolt coming out over top of the nut, so it kind of keeps things balanced. You can see I can keep going from bolt to bolt, going around tightening them till they're all good and tight. And you just keep going back and forth. Sometimes you got to loosen one a little bit and tighten the other one just to keep them even. If they're not even, then you could have something not straight on your drivetrain, and you don't like that because if you get something crooked, it wears your tires crazy. This side, it rolled back because I pushed the other side over, so I had to get behind it and kick it into position until the little holes lined up. Just repeat the same thing we did on the other side. Run over and grab some tools there. Got some dirt and stuff on the U-bolts, so clean them all off good there so we didn't get stuff in the threads, make it go together easier. Okay, we got both U-bolts in there. Now we're just going to tighten the side the same way. Just go from one bolt to another till you get them all even and tight. It's kind of an interesting little job. Gotta fix that big cancer hole there above the wheel well. I already have some ideas how I'm going to do that. My paint job is actually just bed liner, and I got some cans that were a little old, so it was kind of chunky. Should have took it back. I ended up getting some newer ones later. They ordered a couple from their warehouse or whatever, and then got those. What we're doing here, hooking the brake lines back up on that little piece that bolts to the axle there. I had to get under there because I couldn't get the brake line to line up on the other side. The side toward the camera, it went right in, nice and smooth. The other side, it had to fight me. Man, what a job. We got those all tightened up, and then we got the bolt tightened into the axle to hold it in place. I didn't do it on the video, but when I got done, I had to get my Mighty Vac out and bleed the rear brakes. When you do that, make sure you keep an eye on your master cylinder to make sure you keep the brake fluid topped off. Because if you suck too much out, you get air in the system again because you sucked it all out of the master cylinder reservoir there. Then we'll put the shock in place there and drop the jack a little to line up the hole. Like I say, we used the bolts from the new axle. They worked a little better and was in better shape. So we're working those in there. Used my impact ratchet to put that on. Put the bolts through the hole. And I put the wrench on there and zapped them in. And did the same thing on this side. Had to drop the jack a little more. Sorry, a little tired here. Been a long day. All kinds of sore and wore out. There, everything's all good. Everything's cinched down. Then just got to lift the truck back up as high as we can. Then get my big floor jack out. Put it under the shock. And jack it all the way up so we can get our tires on. That side come loose a little bit. Gonna kick the drum back on. Oh, okay. I hooked the drive line up first. I tried to get this. My hubs was locked in. I made sure it was in neutral. Didn't kick it in two-wheel drive. So I unlocked my hubs, put it in two-wheel drive. Then I could turn the drive shaft to line it up in the yoke. Then I figured out that, well, the new rear end I got, the yoke was different. Took a different U-joint that was a little bit smaller. So I had to fix that problem there. Clean that baby out. I had to get our 1 1/16 socket on the impact there. There we go. So I had to go steal the yoke off the bad drive line that we're going to rebuild. I'll use it for something. Zip the yoke off this one. Whoop, swap her out. Then I tried using the U-bolt for the old yoke. And the U-bolts are too narrow. So, what a pain. But I ended up going through everything, finding the other U-bolt that's supposed to be with it. Rounding up all my nuts, lock washers. See, I showed you there. It's about a quarter of an inch or so wider, the one that's supposed to be on it. So put that baby in there. Make sure you get the threads good and clean, and make sure your nuts fit properly. And then you're gonna put fresh lock washers on them. And you only tighten them down until the lock washer closes. They're supposed to be like 7 to 10 foot-pounds on the little nuts for the U-bolts on the driveline, because if you over tighten them, it crushes the cap on the U-joint, and then they go bad. It messes up the needle bearings in there, everything else. It eats U-joints. You'd be lucky if they last you a couple months. Yeah, it took me a little bit to get everything cleaned up, get everything on there, get her all tightened up right. Let's see there, finish that up. What I was working on there. Okay, let's get this baby jacked up, get the tires back on. Big old tire coming through. These have been super good tires. I love these things, and they're really good for off-road. They're Cooper Discover STT Pros. Very nice tires. Also a big price tag on them. My boss actually bought these for me. So still, with everything got into the truck, I'm about maybe $900 into the whole truck. It's pretty neat. See, a lot of these people do like affordable off-road videos, like off-road vehicle videos. And like a lot of these ones, especially on like the geo trackers and that I watch, they talk about, oh yeah, this is a $600 geo tracker. Yeah, but I can tell from looking at it, you got at least $1,500 in tires on it, plus all the lift and custom bumpers and winches. And I literally did everything on this truck, and I have less than $1,000 out of my pocket into it. I was gonna order a locker third member to go in it, and yeah, they're like $1,000. So